Before this video starts, if you're watching this video, there's about a 50% chance that you are not subscribed. So if you've been watching videos on this channel consistently and you aren't subscribed already, then please do that. One, it would allow you to see more of my videos when they come out, and two, it helps my ego, so it's much appreciated. Also, drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference. But with that out of the way, today I am talking about the Western Conference and what team will be winning the West and what team will be heading to the finals out of the Western Conference. Also, shit, I forgot to mention something. This is going to be officially, unless something changes down the line, the last 2K talk that I ever do. So just a heads up for that. There's going to be an announcement video tomorrow for some changes that are coming for this channel. But I wanted to talk about the West and what team is going to win the conference. And to me, there's a couple of teams we can eliminate rather early just for the sake of time. So towards the bottom of the conference, not worried about the Rockets, Warriors, and not the Memphis Grizzlies or really the San Antonio Spurs. The rest of the teams pretty much, and not OKC either, pretty much every other team I believe has a chance at least at winning a championship, those teams being the Utah Jazz, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Denver Nuggets, the Phoenix Suns, the Portland Trailblazers, and the Dallas Mavericks. Now, record-wise, there are plenty of teams that are doing better than those teams in the Western Conference, but those are the teams that I think could theoretically win the Western Conference. But of course, there are favorites among those teams. First of all, I can eliminate the Phoenix Suns. They're the worst team that I would say has a chance of winning the Western Conference. A lot of crazy factors would have to happen for that to be the case. Devin Booker is good, but I don't believe he's best player in a championship team good. Chris Paul is good, but he's got to average more than 12 points if he's going to be like really impacting at that level. DeAndre Ayton, he has aggressiveness issues, and like he sometimes doesn't assert himself when he really should. So that's going to hold back the Phoenix Suns, and as a result, I don't think they're going to be a real threat, but I would not be shocked if they just had like a 2011 Mavs-esque run and they were just like way outperformed what anyone expected out of them. After them, the Portland Trailblazers. This team's been kind of disappointing. They have dealt with injuries as they did last year, but I expected them to be better than they are right now. Robert Covington has been out, which has not helped, but I believe the Blazers, this is the best roster they have had since LaMarcus Aldridge has left. Whether or not that actually translates onto the court, it hasn't happened yet, on top of the injury factor, so that's not ideal for Portland. That's going to, I'm not really thinking they're going to be a real contender either. And then after them, the Dallas Mavericks have really struggled, 8-10. Luka Doncic shooting like 30% from three. Kristaps Porzingis missing games. The Mavericks, I think they're going to be fine though. I think this is just a rough start. They're at bare minimum, they're going to be a playoff team. They might not take the leap that I originally anticipated them making, and Luka's MVP case certainly is not looking good right now. But I'm definitely higher on the Mavericks than I think a lot of people would be at this point in the season. But 18 games in, they are at the 12th seed in the West, which is not good. But I believe that there are some changes that they can make that'll improve them, and even if they don't make those changes, there's enough talent on this team to be a top 6 seed in the West. Whether or not that ends up happening, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But that leaves us with really the top 4 teams in the conference, that being currently number 1 is the Utah Jazz, and the Clippers, the Lakers, and the Nuggets. So if I'm going to eliminate one out of these 4, it is going to be the Utah Jazz. Now, Utah Jazz fans are rightfully very excited about how this season has been going, because they currently have the best record in the NBA at 14-4 with a 78% win percentage. But I am skeptical of this Jazz and how they've been playing, like really sticking around. Because if you go and look at Utah's numbers, like in the games that I've watched them play, it just stood out to me how well they were shooting from 3. And if you look at their numbers, we're now 18 games in. Donovan Mitchell is shooting 40% from 3 on 8.5 attempts. Jordan Clarkson is shooting 39% from 3 on 7.5 attempts. Mike Conley is shooting 42% from 3 on 7 attempts. Bojan Bogdanovic is shooting 37% on 6 attempts, which is more in line with what he normally does. Joe Ingles is shooting 45% from 3 on 5 attempts, and Royce O'Neal is shooting 44% from 3 on 4 attempts. So they're just shooting lights out from 3. They have a 47% three-point attempt rate, and I believe their average three-point percentage is 40%. So an average three-point percentage of 40%, that's, I don't know what that is ranking in the league, but I would have to assume it's like some of the best. The average is about 35%, I believe. So yeah, they're up there for sure. They've just been, and these are, good shooters for the most part. Like, I'm not saying it's uncharacteristic for any of these guys individually to be shooting this well, but I think the whole team shooting this well is definitely a bit of an outlier that's going to come back down to earth. I think Donovan Mitchell is a good enough three-point shooter to maintain what he's done. Jordan Clarkson, not so much. Mike Conley, not so much. Although Bojan, I think, could actually be a little bit better. Ingles, not so much at that percentage. Royce O'Neal, definitely not 44% for the entire year on that amount of attempts. So really, I think the Utah Jazz have just been very hot out of the gate. So I'm kind of a little bit dismissive of them. I will say I am more confident in them than I was a couple of years ago, or a year ago even. But I don't think they're a real threat to the top teams in the conference, which are the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Denver Nuggets. So it's an interesting conversation with the Clippers specifically, because I feel like they've gotten to the point where people just completely underrate the Clippers because they just dismiss them. Like, the Clippers aren't going to be good. I mean, we saw them blow a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets. That means they're, by definition, just going to suck in the playoffs again, and they're not a real threat. But, like, the Clippers are definitely a real threat, and I still believe they have the level of talent required to beat the Lakers in a playoff series. Or the Denver Nuggets in a playoff series. So I don't think people should be dismissing the Clippers and their potential to be the best team in the Western Conference. Of course, it's perfectly reasonable not to believe in them nearly as much as many people did last year. I don't believe in them to the extent I did last year. Last year, I was very confident they would be the best team in the Western Conference, and that obviously was not the case. But the people that are acting like this is like the 5th best team in the NBA or something like that, or like even the Nuggets are like comfortably better than them. I understand they won that playoff series, but I would not say that any team is comfortably better than the Clippers. Like, there's some teams that I would say are better, but there are none that I would confidently say are like just, oh, clearly this team is way better. The Denver Nuggets, they're an interesting team. They have had some struggles early this year, but they kind of caught back up lately. Jokic is having an MVP caliber season, which is awesome. The issues with them is that Jamal Murray has been a little bit also, I don't know what his numbers look like now, but I know that MPJ's numbers were taking a dip. Granted, he hasn't played a whole lot of minutes because he was out with the virus. So it's a little bit concerning. Also, you've definitely seen the impact that their defense has had by losing Jeremy Grant. JaMychal Green isn't a horrible replacement, but he's not a very good one. So that's definitely something that has been noticed with the impact on that team on that end of the court. Offensively, they should be just fine. The issue with that team is the defense. And I feel like if you're going to go into a series versus at least the Lakers and you don't have a good interior defensive presence, it's likely not going to end well unless your offense is just unbelievable. And when we saw the Lakers and the Nuggets in the playoffs last time, that was kind of the case. As good as the Nuggets offense could be at times, it was pretty clear that the Lakers were just a superior team, and I think in a matchup with the Lakers, the Nuggets would lose. Now, I do believe a matchup versus the Clippers, and this is obviously partially based on the fact that this has already happened. I believe they're much more equipped for a matchup versus the Clippers. Not that the Lakers are necessarily so much better than the Clippers, but specifically for that 1-to-1 matchup, the Nuggets match up significantly better with the Lakers than they do the Clippers. So for the Nuggets, I mean, I just simply don't think they're a team that could beat the Lakers. And for that reason, I am going to say I don't believe them to be the team coming out of the West. Now, I believe they could beat the Clippers, and I believe the Clippers could beat the Lakers. So if it like worked out that way in the standings where the Clippers played the Lakers in like the second round, and then the Clippers won that series, and then the Nuggets got the Clippers, then yes, the Nuggets could make the West. But I think if they run into the Lakers, they're in trouble. Whereas I believe that the Clippers can actually take out the Los Angeles Lakers because of the addition that they made in Serge Ibaka. I have proposed something that I feel bars a lot of explanation. I like the idea of running a lineup specifically against the Lakers when they're running their two big lineups of Serge Ibaka at power forward and what's his name? Fucking Zubac, that's his name. Running him at center. And whatever center they have on the court, whether it be Marc Gasol or Montrezl Harrell, that's who Zubac guards. And then Serge Ibaka is on Anthony Davis. See, the biggest issue and the biggest question mark with Anthony Davis, or with the Clippers specifically beating the Lakers, was the fact that who the hell is going to stop Anthony Davis? They have the wing defense to give LeBron issues. Obviously, they're the best wing defensive team in the league. But the interior presence was not as strong. Serge Ibaka, I believe, is a player that is a good matchup for Anthony Davis. By no means do I expect him to shut anybody down. Nowhere near that. But I do believe he can definitely help that team. And he can definitely help the defense against the Lakers. So I believe the addition of Serge Ibaka is like really impactful for the Clippers' chance of beating the Lakers, just simply because of the fact that he matches up so well with Anthony Davis. And by the way, I am fully aware that Ibaka really should not be playing power forward. That's important to mention that. But I'm also fully aware that Anthony Davis really shouldn't be playing power forward, and that Serge Ibaka is a good enough matchup on the perimeter and in the paint to handle Anthony Davis. So if they're running a power forward like Anthony Davis, then running a power forward like Serge Ibaka isn't a big deal. Against most teams, I would not recommend it. I think Serge is way better at center. But I think you'll be able to have that size in the paint where you have both Serge and why do I keep wanting to call Zubac Vucevic? I don't know. Zubac and Ibaka in the paint is certainly a good amount of interior presence, so I think that gives them an edge. If they can get past the Nuggets, then I think they have a real shot at beating the Lakers. But my pick is still the Lakers. After all that explanation, it seems like I'm building up towards like picking the Clippers. I believe the Clippers can put up a better fight than what they would have last year if they had matched up with them in the Western Conference Finals. But at the same time, my pick is still the Lakers. I think the Lakers got better from what they were last year, and last year they were obviously the champions and the best team in the Western Conference, and of course, being the champion, the best team in the NBA. So I am definitely of the opinion that the Lakers are the best team in the Western Conference. I feel like there's a good chance a lot of people are going to just watch this video and be like, yeah, the Lakers are the best. I don't think they're like guaranteed like to leave the West or anything like that, but I am pretty confident in them being the best team. If I was making a $1,000 bet on who wins the West, it's easily the Lakers. Like no hesitation in my mind. So yeah, the Lakers best team in the Western Conference, the team that will be coming out of the Western Conference. And if you're a Lakers fan, this is unfortunate for you because last year I picked the Clippers and we saw what happened with them. So Lakers are about to blow a 3-win lead. Anyways, yeah, that's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.